Alright, so today's video I will be taking apart this fancy device right here, as the title says. Yes, it's a trigger group for the M31 semi-automatic from TNW. This is not the striker fired version, this is the hammer fired version. Look at that, I already lost one of my pins. Perfect. It's already coming apart. I'm going to take it apart quickly because most of you actually are probably trying to put it back together instead of taking it apart. So we'll do this. It's actually pretty easy to take apart, this thing, and it's actually surprisingly easy to put together. It's not going to work. Just grab it. While I'm doing this, all I have to tell you is that to put it together, it would be the safety first if you take that out. I'm not going to do that because it's really simple to take out and put back in. You got those there, and we're back in focus. Alright, so now I've got two pins out. Bigger one, thinner one. That is for you. A lot of you are probably wondering mostly about the spring choice. As you see, when you're facing forward like that, curved spring there is on the right hand side. This little funny one here is on the left hand side. Holes would be, the curved one is in the lower hole and the other one is in the upper hole. It's not difficult to figure out in the end as long as you put them on the right side. If you took this out and put it over here, it's in a completely wrong position to do anything. They lean up against the front end, so same idea here. If I did this here, it wouldn't line up. So you put it here, it would line up here. Completely wrong place. You want it over there, so it's got to be in this hole here. I'll leave that over there now. Alright, so now I've taken up the hammer. Now the worst part is this piece right here. Everything else is rather simple. This piece is a mess because there are two springs involved. Not that bad, but let's knock it out and try not to lose the springs, because they are quite possible that they will fly away and go somewhere unpleasant. Alright, so now we've taken this off. And in there you should see a spring and another spring. So there you go. This spring, and you can see that little piece there. Don't want to lose it, nor do you want to lose that spring. That is what gives your safety some positive feel to it. It clicks in and out of the holes on the safety, as you can see. Maybe, no, you can't see it in here, but no, maybe a little bit. The holes, the safety normally has three positions. If it was a full auto, there'd be a position going forward even more. As you see on this, they have blocked it so that, don't ask me why. I don't think it would have done anything to start off with anyway, so. In this case, as I said, you got safe and then you got full semi-automatic. Alright, enough talking about that. Let's pop the trigger off and finish this. You're going to see it's going to be a little fidgety to do, but surprisingly enough, most of these things go together pretty easily, and it's almost designed very well for that. Probably because most are original parts that they've just reused. Alright, as you see, let's start with this one. The spring is sort of locked into place, so that makes life a lot easier for you. This is just going to go here. The hole will be difficult to line up, but not impossible. As you see, this one here is actually welded in two spots. So I'd like to know what the original one looks like, but anyways, So let's start with that. You see it's actually pinned in place, which means you aren't going to lose the spring. Don't take it out. If you did, that's how it goes back in. Alright, but now we will start putting it back together. So, you gone done messed up, and now you've got these parts here and you don't know what to do with them. Don't worry, it's not that difficult. We start with the trigger group. Well, the trigger itself, since the whole thing is a trigger group. Now we've dropped this in here. As you see, there's a slight angle to it. I'm just going to put the piece in here, round side first, and you don't see it very well on camera, but I'm going to use a punch if I could get a hold of it. What did I do with my punch? Alright. The hole's supposed to line up here, obviously, and you can't see it very well on camera, but it's lined up over here about. So I'm just going to push on this trigger, and everything should line up. We've got the trigger ready to go here. Try to get some focus here because this is a piece of crap. And I'm trying to push the trigger forward, and when it's forward enough and placed properly, as you see, now it's pretty much placed. It's almost perfectly lined up. So now I'm just going to push it to make it push it down a bit, and it pops right into place right there. Put it flush. All these are going to be captive inside the receiver, so even if they're a little loose, it's not a big deal. Alright, next part is the most difficult. Anyways, as I said before, I'm not taking this out just because it's rather simple. Those two are popped out. This piece will come out with the center piece that's there. Just make sure it's in that direction when you put it back. And then pop this two back in, and Bob is your mother's brother. Next, this goes together like this, and I'm just going to tilt it sideways just so I can get it lined up in that hole without, probably better off to tilt it this way because, yeah, as I said, it's going to be a little fidgety. So there you go, lined up, and just dropped it in the hole there. As you see, it's where it's supposed to be. See if I can line up that spring a little bit in the hole so it stands straight. There you go. This spring that I'm about to put in now is slightly more of a pain. I like to use a pair of tweezers for it. Even then, it's not ideal. And it goes right there. Probably a good way to make it easier is cover the damn thing in grease, and then you wouldn't have so much of an issue. Alright, this is a fancy part. The little screw, the spring has to go right there, just over the L. So you're going to put this in and slide it back. What I do is I turn it upside down so that gravity drops the spring the other way. Once I've got it lined up, the big spring goes in this cutaway here. It makes life sort of easy if you haven't put anything else in yet. So now that one is lined up. This one we're going to tilt up a piece like that so that the little piece with the spring, I don't know if you could see it there, but probably not. Anyway, the spring is standing straight up, which means I could put this far in, right up against the ground, well, right up against the piece that's there, supposed to be at least. You turn the whole thing over, hoping that you haven't dropped it, and looking through the hole is the only way you're probably going to see if it's where it's supposed to be. So right now the spring is not where it's supposed to be. Alright, now you could sort of see the spring there. This should have gone right underneath and behind it. Now it's forward. Let's see if we can see the spring in there. Appears that the spring is sort of where it's supposed to be. As I said, very fidgety. Your best bet is probably to put a bit of grease in there. And the other piece has to be fine because I can feel it's in the right spot. So now the trick is to find out where the hole is and put that pin through there. I like to place the bigger of the pins in here just because it's more positive. And that goes in there like that. Now you want to test it before you get it all together, but I'm going to start by setting it up there. Alright, you want to make sure that that spring is working, that it's actually pushing this forward. So you just want to stick something in there that could push it back. So it looks like it's fine. So now the most difficult parts are together. Lastly, well, I guess you would call it second to last, you want to get the hammer in here. This, as I said, is not difficult. You just have to figure out which way your hammer is facing. So this is the front of the hammer, and if that's the front of the hammer, you want these two things to line up so that the hole can be centered on there. So now you just fit it in. It should fit in pretty smoothly, actually. Not too much of an issue. You get it to want to go sit up against the top front end like that. And you want to push this down so that everything is lined up. And that is back where it's supposed to be. About the whole thing, but push that in, and there's a. So let's see if this does anything. I'm getting a lot of pressure on this that shouldn't be, probably because my safety was on, and that was the actual problem. Safety shouldn't be on, if not, you're not going to be able to cock it. You learn something new each time you do something, right? So let's see, does it cock? Cocks perfectly. Now you just have to put the last pin in. It goes here, and you'll see that when it's cocked, usually play with the hammer, and you should be able to get it pushed down enough that try to fire it here. There you go. So as you see, it's almost through. There's a bit of an angle, so grab your trusty punch, push down on this nice rounded spot here, and that pin goes right in really smoothly. Now you put weight back on so your pin doesn't fall out. And that is a completed piece. Hammer clicks back, push the safety on, nothing moving. Take off the safety, pull the trigger, and it fires. So that is how you do this. Anyways, hope it was helpful for some people. Just take your time, make sure you don't have anything that's binding. As you saw, that safety made it all bind. I thought it was a problem over here. It turned out it's just a safety. And take your time. You don't want to break it, because making parts or buying new parts for it isn't going to be as fun.